Hello my fellow Kenyans, Gakonga, your coach and the pioneer of Vision Football Kenya. Habari zenu wa Kenya wenzangu. Today, the issues are very emotional, very emotional, but we still need to get on with things. And today, I want to dedicate my video to football players in Kenya, both women and men, because unless we speak about these things, our people, our players, our women, our boys are suffering. We need to speak about it. Somebody need to stand up and be counted. I am going to speak about it. Today, I want to say this. Our former players are suffering. They have been suffering for a very long time. And that era of Joe Kadenge, Wilberforce Mulamba, all the way back Mutego, Henry Mutego, and so on, they have suffered so much that they see nothing good in our Kenyan football. We have seen them paraded on Kenyan TVs, and we are tired of that. We want to see something good being spoken about our players, but we know they are suffering. Money in our Kenyan football, it is something that is so scarce that our Kenyan football has become useless, wasteful, talents are being wasted. Now, let us now say that what happened to our former stars, Kadenge na Mpira, and so on, even some of the current coaches who are former players, they have suffered through all the way. But until today, when they are coaches, there is still no money in our Kenyan football. We know the girls are going through the same thing. The Starlet, the Women Premier League, there is nowhere that money is found in our Kenyan football. But why? Why? This is the question. Now, I want to talk about the current players the most, because they are the one who are going to even suffer the most, because economic times are hard. Now, you know, former players, sometimes they used to be employed somewhere else, like working for, I don't know, electricity company, poster, and all of that, and then they used to play. So as much as we know they have suffered a lot, but the issue used to be a bit different. The current generation is going to suffer so much. And my question is, we have people like Dennis Oliech, who have played in Europe, now returned to Kenya. There is nothing that he can do within our Kenyan football that is going to give him money, because the federation has failed. The federation is not inclusive. People in Kenya don't see value in our just immediate former players like Dennis Oliech, Titus Mulama. What are we going to do? This trend is continuing and we need to break it. So my fellow Kenyans, my concern is not just about the former players or the immediate former players, now the current players, and now also the future players. My concern is through that range, and I know it is the same concern for all Kenyans. But like I say, we can talk until the chickens come home to roost. But what are we going to do about it? My fellow Kenyans, things are bad. We must talk about them, and we need to put things straight. I want to say this. In Kenya, we have a lot of football agents who are not FIFA licensed, who are doing cutting deals here, there, and there, who are working with the federation instead of football players in Kenya. And this is part of why also is causing suffering in our Kenyan football. Players are not represented. Lawyers are working with the FKF and even football clubs instead of helping players. Who is speaking out for players? Who is? Because players have been left behind. Players are scared of speaking out. Players are scared, even the Starlet, Harambee Stars players, they are scared of speaking against FKF, because this regime of FKF and the current regime has actually done very bad when it comes to players. They keep shifting blames to clubs, but they have failed on club licensing. They have failed on everything, and now they shift that blame to clubs. Unless we have a federation that can put things straight, federation that can speak for players, federation can help KEFWA to become a good association for union for players. Now, I know that Kenyan football players, no one knows who represent them. Who's their agent? They are still there in Kenya, those agents, but they are not FIFA recognized. Even other agents coming from outside, from Europe, and coming to work with FKF, again, they are not recognized by FIFA. That's why when things go wrong, no one can even trace, our players' contracts in Kenya, or even money back somewhere in Europe. Because these agents who work with FKF, most of them are not FIFA licensed agents. They are just conmen coming around and disturbing our players. We want to see agency work in Kenya being legalized analyzed and be put straight. We want to know who represent all the players in Kenya. How are they paid? How much? This should be public information. See, not these deals are being cut corners here and there. Now I know we have lawyers who are working with FKF, and yet they pretend to represent agents, to represent players. We know agents who are cutting deals with FKF, and yet they pretend to represent players in Kenya. Let us be serious. There is nothing wrong with someone becoming a football agent, but this business is supposed to be done in the open daylight. There are no secrets. So we need that to happen. We need to legitimize our process for how players' contracts are done, how players are signed for the clubs, how players are represented in Kenya, how lawyers represent football players in Kenya, how KEFWA or can be restructured to represent players well and become a good players union. But for this to happen, I must keep saying this. It is the federation that must shape up first. And the way to go forward, there is no any other way. Because everywhere we have a problem. Think about women football. Women football today, there's no sponsorship deal. The money is coming from FIFA, a little money to be given to women, Premier League, and each club is getting 750,000 Kenya shilling a year. If you divide that to 12 months, is something so little that if you divide to all the players, it comes down to 3,000 Kenya shilling a month for a woman who is playing in Kenya Premier League. Imagine if someone has a family and is playing for Kenyan Premier League, 3,000 a month, itafanya nini? So to open this thing up, we need to bring integrity in our football. We need to get good sponsorship deals and stop relying on FIFA. This is going to happen, one, if we have a good federation that cares about football in Kenya, that cares about football players, that has integrity. Because right now, only few betting companies that don't care about their brand name will sponsor Kenyan football and Harambee Stars and Starlet and even Super League. If we have a good federation, if we have a good institution that is respected globally, you are going to see sponsors streaming coming down in Kenya to sponsor football in Kenya. Sponsors are there. My fellow Kenyans, sponsors are there. I can tell you now. You know, here in England, the Women Premier League just got a deal from the Barclays Bank, 1 billion Kenya shilling for Women Premier League in England. For the next 3 years up to 2022, they are going to share 1 billion across the 16 Premier League clubs in England for women. So Barclays Bank is in Kenya. Why can't it sponsor anything in our football? Because there is no integrity. They prefer to be associated with England and the Women Premier League in England, because you know Barclays used to sponsor EPL, English Premier League. But English Premier League say to the Barclays Bank, they don't need their sponsorship. They are good enough to stand for themselves. That's why you don't see the Barclays logo in English Premier League anymore. Now is the English Premier League's own logo, which is a lion, just a head of a lion. And you see that nowadays. You don't see the Barclays Bank. This is why. Because the league said we want to stand by ourselves. We don't need sponsors. We are big enough to stand by ourselves. We don't need the title sponsor, the Barclays. We can get a broadcasting sponsor as EPL, but they did not need the title sponsor. The Barclays Bank used to be the title sponsor. Let's move on, my fellow Kenyans. Now, I wanted to talk about Kenyan brain drain or talent drain. Kenyans are going to play in Zambia. Why? Because Zambia, they are being paid well. But think about this. Kenya's economy is 4 times bigger than that of Zambia. But yet, Zambia Premier League can pay well than the Kenyan Premier League. This tells you something. Our Premier League is useless. It's a waste of time. It does not have money. And this is true because there are no sponsors that are attracted. Unless we have a good performing Premier League, good management, accountability, integrity, we will keep crying and no one will sponsor Kenyan football. So the Kenyan football, to start sorting the problem, is about integrity. Yeah? Is about how the governance is done. Is about how the management is done. Both at the federation and the Kenyan Premier League, the Super League, the Women League, all across. Integrity is key. Accountability is key. Good reputation is key. Global reputation is key. That's what the sponsors are looking for. As long as we have that, they will sponsor anything in Kenya. And I promise this because I know about sponsorship. So, my fellow Kenyans, we have players going to Zambia. They are being paid 3,000 Kenya shillings a month. And our clubs back home cannot pay that. That's why people want to move to Zambia. Why? Zambia is poor as a country in comparison to Kenya, but their football is better. They have good sponsorship deals. We need to work this thing out about the sponsorship deal. I wanted to talk about, again, Kenyan Premier League players going out to play in countries like Greece. Greece, it pays less than Kenya, but they believe the management is good there, even there is no money. That's why you have Kenyan players like Jesewere going to play in Greece. Because in Kenya, not only that the money is less, also being paid is a big story. Sometimes people are not being paid. Now, you look places like Georgia, you look places like Finland, these Nordic countries, the money is very little. It is better someone plays in Kenya and they will get good money. But for that to happen, we need to restructure our football. We need to bring integrity. We need to bring sponsors. We need to usher in a new era for football so that we can have a new beginning. Unless we have this new beginning, players are going to suffer. Players are going to go through the same way. Joe Kadenge, we were talking about Joe Kadenge and raising money across Kenya. We've been talking about Henry Mutego and so on and so on. This will continue. If you are playing in Kenyan Premier League right now as a player, please pray every day, because unless we have a Kenyan football revolution and streamline everything, you are heading the same way as Joe Kadenge and as Henry Mutego and the rest, which makes me so sad. It really makes me so sad. I'm very passionate about football. I'm very passionate about Kenyan football. Despite me being part of the English football, my heart lies in Kenya. And I'm telling you, we need to do everything that is possible to deal with this issue of the Kenyan football problem. So once and for all, we can straighten it. Kenya is a giant economy. Kenya economy is so huge. All we need is good football management and governance, and sponsors will come. My fellow Kenyans, this issue of football agents in Kenya, sports lawyers in Kenya, getting inside FKF and doing funny deals with FKF, this is making the federation lose credibility and integrity. It is also making sport lawyers lose credibility and integrity. It is also making football agents lose credibility and integrity. Chasing that small shilling here and there from the federation is a waste of time. Please, authenticity is very important. Build yourself as a lawyer. Build yourself as a football agent, and you will get so many people to represent. You will get so much money that is going to confuse you. Money is there. Authenticity should be your priority as a football agent, as a football lawyer. Forget about chini ya maji deals. They are a waste of time. Another thing that made me sad that I must speak about is this issue of starlet lacking money. You hear that when starlets are training at the camp, sometimes they are paid in cash, pesa kidogo hapa na hapa, ukale lunch na usafiri. This is our national team, starlet. You hear them, they are being given sanitary towel in the camp because they have no money. They cannot even afford to buy anything. They are being given free donations of sanitary towel. This is our national team. My fellow Kenyans, it is nothing wrong by people being given a sanitary towel. But think about it. Why can't we do something good so that our starlet are paid well rather than just donating sanitary towels to them? Sometimes you hear they are being just given ticket to go home. This our national team is treated worse than a county team. It's very bad, but the issue boils down to lack of money in our football. So we only expect FIFA to give FKF money, and then FKF takes some of the money, and then it channels a little bit of money where it need to go to the starlet. I don't know where, technical training. This is wrong. We must get away from relying on FIFA. We must get away from relying on our government to give us money for football. What we need to do is to do the correct thing so that our football can become economically viable, and that sponsors can come in big number. This is doable. This is possible. All we need is a clean new start. What I'm saying, Vision Total Football Kenya group that we have knows exactly what Kenyan football need to do for it to become what we are talking about. These are not pipe dreams. These are things that are possible in our Kenyan football. Can you imagine English Premier League for women got 1 billion to run itself? Think about that. What even 10% of that would do for our Kenyan football, or even 1%, which would be 100 million. Think about what that would do. My fellow Kenyans, let us wake up. Let us help our girls. Let us talk to the federation and tell them, you have failed us. There's no choice about this. You cannot run the Kenyan football. Let us talk about how to streamline it, how to straighten it, how to restructure it. You have failed. The football has died. Everyone has lost hope. From grassroots to the top level to Harambee Stars, there's nothing. And there's no point of FKF lying to the Kenyan Premier League that it is going to get sponsors for the Kenyan Premier League. Let them get sponsor for Harambee Stars first. For the last 3 years since 2017, Harambee Stars has no sponsors. So how can the federation now come and say, oh, if we take the Kenyan Premier League, we are going to bring a company here, I don't know, a betting company or a sponsor. They will not get any sponsor. And once FKF take over the management of the Kenya Premier League, that is it. The Premier League is dead for a very long time and no sponsor will get involved. Because if you ask me today, who would I trust, Kenyan Premier League or the Federation? Number one, I would say the Kenyan Premier League. So why does the Kenyan Premier League feel that it is going to be better being under the Federation? It is going to die. That is for sure. So Kenyan Premier League, I'm telling all the 18 clubs, they should be resisting takeover by FKF. This regime of FKF that cannot even run a simple football election, and now they're talking of managing the entire Premier League. The Super League that it is under the FKF, it is already struggling. It is already impossible for FKF to run the Super League. So the federation is focusing on the wrong things. And this idea of what the federation want to do is this. They think if they run the Kenyan Premier League and there was a sponsorship deal, the federation would keep 14% of that deal. I know that is what they're thinking, that, oh, we could use the Premier League and then get a deal and then get our cut there. They've done that with the Super League. The Super League got a Betika sponsorship deal and the federation took some of it. The County League, again, that got a sponsorship from the Odibet. Again, FKF talked about taking a portion about that. And while we are here, I want to talk about this Odibet sponsorship. The county clubs were promised jerseys, football, and money. I read the newspaper well. It is said jersey, balls, and money. Where is the money? So many clubs are contacting me saying they never got any money. Was this a trick? Yeah? Just to get the betting company advertised across the country and give few balls and t-shirt here and there. The clubs that are playing in the county league, they must ask for the money. And if the money was not there, they must tell FKF, you lied to us. They must tell the Odibet, you lied to us. And if the Odibet lied to Kenyan leagues, this is wrong. And if FKF lied to the county leagues about the money, this is wrong. And if this is proved to be right, it is the time now the Odibet, distant itself from the federation, because it is going to have its name not respected and dirtied. Itawekwa uchafu hii Odibet, hii jina, unless they tell the truth or dissociate itself with the federation. My fellow Kenyans, now I want to talk about the Kenyan coaches. I have seen a lot of Kenyan coaches, and sometimes the players, when they go on media, for example, this Bramwell Karamoja show, where it is a very good show, but just a few days ago, I saw I saw a starlet ladies being interviewed there, a former starlet and one of the current starlet players called Mwana Halima. And you know, you cannot ask issues of FKF to a current player. They will not tell you the truth. I'm saying this is a message to Bramwell Karamoja. You cannot ask a starlet player inside issues or bad issues or corruption issues of FKF. You know they are affiliated with FKF. You know they are signed by FKF. They are not going to give the right answers. On the other side, we had two coaches, Martha, and then we had another Jacqueline, a coach as well, who is working with Akakoro. The same place where Stanley Okumbi is coaching. And then where else does Stanley Okumbi coach? The under-16 boys that are with FKF, which we are told is the Kenya national team under-16. So asking Jacqueline issues of governance or corruption within FKF, she's not going to say anything because she's under FKF or she's very close to FKF. So forget that. Now asking Martha as well, who is an FKF coach, she's going to say nothing that is against FKF. So these interviews, please, if you want to ask people about FKF and you want to get the correct answer, please don't go for people who are working with FKF right now. Go for the former players or the people who you know are not within the FKF network. So Kenyans are getting the wrong information because those people who are being interviewed are within FKF itself. And all they are doing, the only thing they are doing is selling PR to Kenyans. Please don't interview people within FKF if you want to get the correct answers in regard to FKF. Now, my fellow Kenyans, we as a country, we need a federation that will represent Kenya well. We need a federation that is fit for purpose. We need a federation that will take care of the entire Kenyan football and have integrity, yeah? Have a good global name so that sponsors can come. Unless we do this, nothing else is going to work in Kenya. We are going to keep crying, asking for the government to give us, football players the sports fund, all of that, but none of that will work. See all the stories I'm telling you, they are all true about the suffering across the Kenyan football. I cannot even begin to talk about grassroots football. And I want to say this as well. When people are asked questions in these interviews about Women Premier League, yesterday I listened to this Bramwell Karamoja show. Every time somebody asked a question about women football, the coaches there, they keep going to the starlet. They keep talking about starlet. Kenyan football is bigger than starlet. Kenyan football is bigger than Harambee Stars. So when people want to know about the structure of Kenyan football, let people stop sending us back to the starlet and tell us the performance of starlet or how starlet is doing well or how Harambee Stars is doing well. I want FKF to understand that football is bigger than just starlet and Harambee Stars. FKF, tell your coaches football is bigger than Harambee Stars and starlet. When we want to know about grassroots football or Women Premier League, we are not talking about Kenyan Premier League. We are talking about Women Football League structure. We want to not hear anymore about starlet and Kenyan and Harambee Stars. Football in Kenya is bigger than that. Let us talk. Harambee Stars and starlet only makes about 3% of the Kenyan football. There is 97% that we never hear about, which is the grassroots, which is all the football played in the counties and the villages and the women football for people living with the disability, the amputees football. How are we going to sort this? How? This is where we need to go. And this is why I keep saying Kenya require a federation that is able to govern and manage Kenyan football in this 21st century. FKF is not that type of federation. My fellow Kenyan, I leave you in peace.